Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing on this June the 13th, 2025 nightly cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, gold and silver bullion update. And like we said, with our education, information, truth, and trust from the #1 and industry only YouTube channel for retail investors on their way to become asset millionaires via a basket of goods and a well-diversified portfolio via steady investing in your 401ks, cryptocurrency investing steadily, gold and silver bullion and mining stocks, and real estate and cash. Got to have some cash there on your way to being an asset millionaire in less than a decade, right? It can be done, or at least less than 2 decades, a 20-year plan, and sooner if you're better at it, right? But something that's very critical in our news and the information and education that we're emphasizing more about teaching the education and information and the knowledge with the power that comes with the knowledge and the education and the information that we're highlighting more is during heavy geopolitical times, right? Bitcoin's been around long enough now to see what happens. And like the key facts today, Bitcoin price drops from 106,042 to 103,053 amid geopolitical tensions liquidating over 1.16 billion. The bigger the price is, the higher these numbers get, even though it's roughly, it could be the same percentage, but the number looks bigger. You always remember that. 1.16 billion in leveraged positions. It marked a 5% decline. It's worse since June of 2025. Well, we're still in June of 2025. So, but there's a lot of geopolitical things going on. And Bitcoin's supposed to be still billed as being better than gold. I don't believe that, but the way it's being advertised and billed in the mainstream media, the YouTube sphere, the Michael Saylors, the heavy investors, the big hedge funds, and the big newsmakers and narrative setters for the market, they're saying it's better than gold, it's better than the dollar. The dollar is being devalued, which it is. Cash is not good, it's trash, which it is. You have to have it doing something for you, and all this stuff. But it never acts like a hedge, though, or a hedge to the dollar or being better than the dollar, because in geopolitical times, it tends to tank because the stock market tends to tank. And something that still fascinates me is the dollar was getting hammered. Look at the last 3 months, down 5%. And for the dollar, that's a lot. The last 6 months or half a year, 7.39%. And again, for the dollar, that's a lot. The past year, it's down 6.5%. And you can see it's been down since it had its peak in 2022. It's down almost 13, 14, 15%, right? It's in a correction, well within correction territory, but getting close to a bear market. But then we have geopolitical news, and look what happened. Let's zoom in on it real quick. You can see it's been down. It's been down since 2022, and from the wick high in 2022 to the wick low, it's down 15%. But more recently, since January, it's been down. It was down 11.76%. Had no monthly candles that were green. It's been in a severe downturn, right? The daily candles have almost all been green. The daily candles into last night leading into the news were green. But if we get even closer on the news, when that news broke out last night with the geopolitical thing, look what the dollar did. That's when the news broke. The dollar was at its daily low, under a major critical support level. And then the news breaks with heavy geopolitical news, and still perceived worldwide as a safe haven. And I know it's not much, but it shows during times of crisis, at least at the very beginning, the world still believes the dollar is a safe haven, because it went from being in the middle of an 11% dump in a 2.5-year bear market, and it pumped when you would expect, if it's nobody believes in the dollar, you would expect the dollar to sell off, but the dollar still pumps. That's very interesting to me, because when there's times of mass crisis, at least at the very beginning, and that's very important, and part of this education at the beginning of this, what's going to be a long video, at least at the very beginning with the news, say this escalated into something more, you would have to see what happens if this went on for 6 months and escalated. Would it just be a pump at the beginning and then it would sell off, or does it continue to be being bought around the world, the dollar, if that type of thing with the bombing in Iran and a lot of nuclear and scientists and head guys in and Iran being killed by the drones from Israel, right? But at least at the beginning, and this is another time that it's doing it, and it's done it throughout the last 10 or 15 years still, even as the dollar's been drastically devalued. But the reason we're talking about this, and I'm talking about this at the beginning of this video, is the Bitcoin. On the news, the Bitcoin went down yesterday and went to its daily low, right? And it's going to be interesting to see how Bitcoin reacts. And I pulled up a few historical events during the time of Bitcoin that alters market significantly one way or another, right? Number one was the 2022 that I have that we got on the list here, Russia-Ukraine war. Bitcoin February 1st, 2022, 44,000. March 1st, 2022, up 3% to 44,500 initial spike, and then it crashed. June 2022 low, 17,600, minus 60% from February peak. So initially, on the onset and during the initial stages of a Russia-Ukraine existential world crisis, geopolitical, the Bitcoin went down. It went up 3% initially, but then went 60% down from 44,000 before it started to 17,000 after, right? XRP, and I got that on here too, February, 63 cents. June, 29 cents, and went down 54% on that geopolitical news. Takeaway, Bitcoin briefly rallied on fears of currency devaluation, ruble collapse, but both assets followed the broader risk off market trend as war dragged on, the interest rates rose, right? So Bitcoin didn't do what they thought it would do during a time of actual crisis when the news was breaking and when things were fluent and nobody knew how the scenario was going to resolve itself, right? So that's not what you want to see if it's going to be better than gold, especially, or better in a hedge against the dollar. That's just showing you some education and information. If you didn't know it, it's very important to at least understand what happens and why it's important, right? Number two, U.S.-Iran tensions, June 2020 or January 2020. January 1st, 2020, $7,200. January 8th, 2020, conflict peak, 84.50 plus 17%. So in this U.S.-Iran tension and ending at 8,300, a 15% move for the month, and a 17% move on that, right? XRP flat, 19 cents. It was 0% on the month, so it had no effect. And I don't remember what in 2020 during the middle or just before, that's why I don't remember it, because it was just before COVID, that COVID was really starting to ramp up on the other side of the world, that nobody remembers this, and maybe that's why that didn't have an effect. Bitcoin, it went up, but it didn't really have an effect. COVID-19, 2020, when it broke just about a month and a half later after the last conflict, February 2020 pre-crash high, 10,300. March 13, 2020, it followed like the rest of the market, the stock market, and crashed, right, when the dollar went up. So again, it's very interesting that the dollar in times of existential, geopolitical, or in this case, a health emergency, we'll say, the Bitcoin went down 63%. End of April recovery, though, it pumped after, along with everything else, 8,600, 126% recovery from March low. But during the panic low, it went down 63%, and that's what we're talking about right now. The rest of the markets also followed that. Oil actually had the biggest recovery because oil went negative a bunch and then ended up going to $120-something a barrel. But initially, it went down 63%. XRP, 33 cents to start. Went to 11 cents, minus 67%, and then it had a 91% recovery from the March low. But again, initially on a crisis, it went down. The dollar went up the whole time. Or dollar went up initially. Afghanistan collapse, August 2021. I don't know what this has to do with Bitcoin. I think they're just throwing this in there. But it went up 22%. I didn't even know Afghanistan. Oh, maybe. Oh, that's with the Joe Biden collapse. Bitcoin went up 22%. So this is interesting. And then the XRP went up 55%. Israel-Hamas conflict, October 2023, escalating 25%. The Bitcoin went up. The XRP went up 15%, 20%. So on some of these less secondary conflicts that seem to happen all the time, the Bitcoin just, if it's in a bull market, the price is going up. or if it's in a bear market at the time, the price is going to go down. But in big geopolitical or health emergencies, the Bitcoin goes down. So here's summary by key moves during the data. Russia, Ukraine, the Bitcoin went down 60%, and the XRP went down 54%. US, Iran, 17% up for Bitcoin, but this was just before COVID. And XRP, it was unfazed, it didn't do anything, 0%. COVID crash, 63% down to 126% gain, 67% crash in XRP to a 91% gain. And then the lesser secondary wars, Afghanistan and Iran, Hamas, both of them, the Afghanistan in 2021 was during the peak of the bull market for the cryptos, and obviously an Afghanistan scenario where nobody has Bitcoin there isn't going to affect this. And the Hamas, the same thing, right? But that's very interesting on some of the health emergencies and the major geopolitical problem. Both of those went down, and right now the reason I'm bringing that up is we're going into a weekend where all the markets are closed. We're having a heightened geopolitical bombing where there were a lot of top officials in Iran get killed, scientists and head government officials, and retaliation is going to happen. And the markets are starting to violently react. Gold and silver. Silver was flat to slightly up. Gold was up $55 an ounce. Oil had a massive pump last night, up 13%. And then throughout today, there's been problems with getting oil live data reporting for some reason, which I find that very interesting. But the Bitcoin went down and was trading slightly up today. It's down on the open, the new daily candle, 0.56%. But what we're watching out this weekend is what we talked about earlier, is can we stay above this $101,000 50-day moving average? If we can, we can continue to the upside. If we get below that, you would look this weekend to look for a 100-day moving average there in blue, or that horizontal left to right in yellow at 97,000. And that's what I'm paying attention to, because I still feel like that head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern that we've laid out for you a long time ago, even though we've gotten this mountain double top for a head now, I still believe we're going down eventually to that $57,000 neckline. And that is our next major target after we retest that $74,000. I could be completely wrong, but I still believe that that is a very valid thing that could be happen. But I will die on my sword, because at least I have an opinion that I have created for myself, and it has got us to where we're at now. I didn't see a new all-time high in a mountain double top, but I should have at least thought of that possible solution. But XRP, we had a beautiful call on this too, going from our peak up there just after we peaked at this $3.40 high. We drew this pattern. We put this $2.09 neckline support. We put down the 200-day moving average as a target. We put down the 129 as our technical target. When the moving averages, you can see the 50s there, the 100s there, and the 200 was down there. We said there would be a bearish cross where this 50 would get underneath the medium-term moving average, and it did here in mid-April, about April 11th. It got below it, right? And we told you it would do that and forecasted it, and it did. Then we also forecasted way back before then, when the price was still way up in here, before it had this first big drop here in early February, where the rest of the YouTube shysters that were telling you the price was going straight up still started saying, we might have a little small consolidation. Now, well, yeah, thanks for telling me after it's back down $1.25, $1.50 from its high that there could be a slight consolidation, right? But old Vincenzo, first mover advantage, link down below, right down there in the video description. Just tap on that member, Jabroni Killer, $3.99 a month. Help keep these videos flowing and keep this truth, trust on information and education with that first mover advantage and a simple strategy like I am doing, where our 401k is now at $102,000. It had an up week, about $2,000 up this week for some reason, which is very exciting. For just about almost 5 years into the 401k investing, and we are at $102,000. And if you use these easy steps and just listen to the advice and form your own game plan and keep executing it over a long period of time, you will have these types of rewards too, and which is also very exciting. And that's the reason we talk about long-term 401k, long-term cryptocurrencies, gold and silver bullion investing, right, over a long period of time. and you start compounding those rewards as you start to increase the capital that you have in your investments. And as soon as you hit that elusive $100,000 in any one investment, that is when the real gains start, and that is the secret. And it really starts to multiply quickly once you get over that $100,000 in any one investment, whether it's a stock or real estate. Your investment will start compounding on itself at an exponential rate once you get over 100,000. But getting to that first 100,000 is the hardest thing to do. But once you get there, you'll really start to see some rewards pay off with your investment. And the XRP, sorry about that ramble, but I felt like that was very important. The XRP is sitting down here at the 209 neckline support again. And you can see it's hit it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now the 11th group since it had that initial pump with the Donald Trump rally, and then we formed this neckline support. Eventually, it's chipped away at the buyers, chipped away buyers, chipped away, delete, just like nobody wants that Jeep, chipped away. Eventually, just like it fell through here finally, but quickly got bought back up because there are a lot of buyers still sitting below here knowing and thinking that the price is just going to shoot up, or they just want to take that spread from in and around here to in and up here somewhere, and they just want to eat away at that spread to make a small gain on a sideways consolidation market over a couple of months, right? But eventually, like we were saying, these are going to get chipped away, and the price is going to come all the way back down initially. If it confirms this, which it's about to, as a major resistance, but it's been holding it as a major support, eventually it's going to come back under like it did here, try to come back and get back over, but get rejected, and then come back to this $1.61. And then when it breaks that, it's a free fall, and most likely a wick scenario down to $1.29. And we can come back to this video along with 75 other videos the last 6 months, what we've been talking about, how and the different scenarios and ways and news to get down to here before we have a rounding bottom going into 2026. And then we start the bull market, the end game of this current bull market. This is just a mid-ground right now, what you're seeing in all the coins. Like if we do hit that technical target, or when we do, but I got to say if we do, because I don't know the future. These are only my own personal opinions. This, just like the Bitcoin, if it goes down to where I'm thinking just how the LM is almost getting below a critical level and getting sub 20 cents. I think this is just the mid-ground consolidation and the halfway point of the bull market. And this is going to be a phenomenal ending of the bull market, where I feel like after this mid-ground consolidation, profit taking and sell-off in the last leg of this current bull market that we're on, it's going to be phenomenal. But that's what I see going on in the XRP. And this weekend, we're going to be seeing how it interacts with this neckline support at the $2.09 neckline support. We're going to have to pay critical attention. If it gets below that, it could be very, very bearish, and there could be a big fall, especially if some crazy news comes out geopolitically, and it could liquidate down very, very quickly. If it holds this support and something geopolitically comes out favorably to Bitcoin, it could bounce very, very quickly. But this whole weekend, or the XRP, but this whole weekend with the cryptos as a whole is going to be very interesting, as a lot of things are going to happen, I feel, and a lot more news is going to happen this weekend with that Israel and the Iran situation. The same thing with XLM. We're sitting back on that 29 cents. We're sitting safely below now, and it's been using it as resistance. These all the moving averages, they've been on top of each other, but now trending down. And you can see we had that bearish cross again, where that 50-day got back below that 200-day, where a few weeks ago, right there about May 14th, May 13th, and 12th, it popped up above it and had a bullish cross. But they've been using it as resistance ever since, like we thought it would. You can see our tracks in the background with the Bitcoin and the XLM and the XRP. We told you this 25 cents is that critical support, right? And it's been holding it for several months. But if it breaches it, like when you briefly breached it right here, you can see how it filtered down very, very quickly. But again, like the XRP, the buyers were there to sustain a substantial uptrend and pumped it all the way up to the 33 cents, something that we were talking about, but we thought it would come to 18 cents before it made that move. But we still believe, and I believe, that we're going to come down here and potentially all the way down here in this mid-ground consolidation in this bull market, and that these two areas are accumulation zones, at least in my own personal opinion. And the XLM, I will accumulate to my bag. On Coinbase, I did take profit along the way because I had it at 11 cents. So I started taking profit slowly here, and I accelerated and finished taking the profit that I wanted to sell up here. And I'm going to reaccumulate the stuff that I sold up here because I haven't bought any more because my average price is 11 cents, which is down right there. I think it's just about 11 cents even. When it gets down to 18 cents, I will nibble a couple of thousand shares, slightly below 18 cents, like 17. And then when it gets to 14 cents, I will buy an additional several thousand shares. And then if it dips any lower, obviously I will buy thousands of shares all the way down, right? If it goes back to 10 cents. But I don't think it's going to go back to 10 cents. I think if we're fortunate enough to get a 12 to 14 cent XLM, we have to take advantage of it. But these people are wondering when I would start accumulating again. These are when I would start accumulating again, right here. Slowly nibbling at first just below 18 cents, much more aggressive at 14 cents, and max accumulation down there at about the 10 cent level and anything below that, right? But I don't think it's going to go that low, but I think there will be a window where the 14 and 18 cents, there's going to be heavy accumulation, quick potential, and you're going to have to take advantage of it. I know I will be, and I will be posting more of those for members only about when I accumulate more. And that's another thing that you're going to get when I actually buy more XLM or more stocks of anything. I will post that for members only via the message board that we can post on here. Peace and love, the Rex Eyebrow J.